so we can jump into chapter 4 of The Power of Now. For those of you that are joining us and you are new, we are going over a book study over The Power of Now because we went over Atomic Habits last month and decided that we enjoyed the process of learning about ourselves. And so the next book we wanted to all do together was The Power of Now. This book is a guide to spiritual enlightenment. So if jumping into your spirituality or understanding spirituality more is something that you're interested in, this is a book that has been very instrumental in opening our eyes to various different things about ourselves. Another thing that I like about this book is that it helps us to understand our true being so that we're not stuck in a state of suffering based off of our past memories or the future that hasn't happened yet. It's calling us to become more present, be more in our being, and be more in the now. Before we get started with today's lesson, which will be how to stop suffering, in this chapter, he's going to give us some tangible ways that we can kind of bring more happiness into our life and stop that cycle of negativity that we often feel that holds us back from living in our power. Again, before we do that, though, I just want to quickly remind you that in a couple of days, we're going to be having the totally free Learn to Protect Your Energy Masterclass. And so if you have trouble picking up on negative energy of other people and letting them impact you, or you go into certain situations and you pick up on that negativity, or if you just have trouble with asserting boundaries in your life. And so what happens is you have people that maybe take a lot from you, and because you're so compassionate and such a giver, you give and give and give, and then you find yourself burnt out, tired, and resentful. Either way, this class is going to teach you all about energy, how to protect your energy, and how to assert boundaries so you don't lose your energy. So if you are interested in that, you can text the word mastery to the phone number 833-231-4407. The number again, 833-231-4407, and you will get a direct link that you can use to sign up for the free class that happens in a few days on August the 26th. I am going to go ahead and get started. Hey, Veronica. I said Veronica. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, today the chapter we're on is chapter 4, and we're going to be talking about how to stop suffering. And so he says, how can you be free from suffering? Do you resent doing what you're doing? And he's asking that because it could be your job. It could be something that you even agreed to do. A lot of times we say we're going to do something and then we end up being resentful. And this is part of that Protect Your Energy class as well. But we start to resist it, and we start to get resentful, and we start to get burned out when we agree to things that we know that we really don't want to do, but we don't have the bravery or the power to say no. He also asks, are you carrying unspoken resentment toward a person close to you? Do you realize that the energy that you thus emanate is so harmful that its effects that you are in fact contaminating yourself? I can't talk today. Contaminating yourself as well as the people around you. So you may think that even though you have agreed to do something and you're holding on to this resentment or all this silent negativity and energy and you're not sharing it, it doesn't mean that you're not negatively impacting not only yourself, but the people around you. So he's saying, have a good look inside. Is there even the slightest trace of resentment or unwillingness? And if there is, observe it on both the mental and emotional levels. For those of you that haven't been with us since the beginning of this book, you have to understand that until you learn how to monitor your thoughts and your emotions, you're not truly living in your power. You're not truly living in your being. A lot of times we fall victim to our emotions and we fall victim to our thoughts. And because of that, we make those things our identity, when in true actuality, our emotions and thoughts are tools that help us to navigate our life more effectively if we use them for the right reason. So what he's saying is that we need to come back to that space if we are starting to feel even a little bit of unease about something in our life. And we are meant to observe our mental and emotional levels. What thoughts is your mind creating around a situation? Because first you're going to have a thought about something that's going on in your life. So again, even if you don't say that something is going on, and if you are someone that wants to be free from unhappiness, you have to really look at the way that you are approaching the situation via the way that you think first. And the way that you think is also then going to impact the emotions that you feel based on how you judge it from the thought process. So if you start to look at the emotion and the thoughts, you're going to be able to observe your body's reaction to the thoughts that you're having, as well as feel the emotions. Your gauge, like we talked about previously, are the thoughts and the emotions, right? Because a lot of times when our feelings are meant to be what is picking up on the vibes of certain situations. And so if our feelings are not the way, if they don't feel aligned or if they feel off, that is your first clue, usually, especially if you're somebody that doesn't have control of your mind and you think that all the stuff that goes on up here is real. Your feelings are going to be what tells you that a situation may be off or not. It may not necessarily be that something is wrong, but it may mean that something about you in the situation, you in the circumstance, is not aligned. And so it's just a trigger for you to pay attention without judgment, because there's something going on. There's something that you shouldn't be ignoring. When you are feeling the emotions and monitoring your thoughts, does it feel pleasant or unpleasant? Is it an energy that you would actually choose to have inside of you? And the big question that a lot of you may struggle with is, do you have a choice? We already know the answer to this is yes, you do have a choice as to how you want to think about things and the feelings that you choose to entertain. However, most of us haven't been taught that we have a choice. And so for a lot of us, we think that we don't. Here's something else you want to pay attention to, especially in the relationships or the people that you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you are being taken advantage of, or maybe the activity you are engaged in is tedious, or maybe somebody close to you is dishonest, irritating, or unconscious. But all that is irrelevant. Whether your thoughts and emotions about this situation are justified or not, it makes no difference. A lot of us will continue to put ourselves in these situations, circumstances, relationships, and rather than honor the feelings that we feel and the thoughts that we have, that we're not in a situation that we should be in, and maybe we need to cut ties, we need to be strong, we need to move on, we will stay in those situations. And when I say stay in the situation, you can stay in the situation physically, right? You can still be in contact with these people or still stay in these circumstances, or mentally, because you're bringing the past into your moment now, or thinking and worrying about the future. So you bring that into the moment now. You are making it a problem right now, and you want to justify what this person did or what this situation is doing or what this circumstance caused you to feel. And he's not saying that that is not a valid thing. It's just that when that happens, a lot of times you're in a state where you may be resisting what is. You're making the present moment the enemy. You are creating unhappiness and conflict between the inner and outer. Your unhappiness is polluting not only your inner being, but those around you, because of the energetic part that I talked about and that we talked about in the previous chapter. And the pollution of the planet is only an outward reflection of the inner psychic pollution that millions of unconscious individuals not taking responsibility for their inner state has caused. I've talked about this like right when COVID hit and we start having all this tension rising in our country. And a lot of times people think that the way that you solve a problem is to focus on the collective and to focus on what is outside of you in order to enact change. And so we think that we have to fight against something and we have to push. In all actuality, if you really wanted to make the world a better place, the first thing you need to be asking yourself is, are you living this life, your life, the moments that you have, conscious and present and in your power and in your being? And if you're not, then truly your unconsciousness and your inability to live in your power and from your highest self is one reason why there's an outward manifestation of the things that we're experiencing, whether you agree or not, or whether you know it or not. And that goes for all of us, because to truly live in our presence, moment to moment to moment, and to truly be in our power when we're experiencing this earthly realm can be very difficult sometimes. But if you really care about the pollution of what we are experiencing in our outer world, then the first way that you fight that is by living your life the right way, by removing the pollution of your inner world, by removing the pollution of the situations, the circumstances, and the relationship that you choose to participate in. Because that energy, whether you believe it or not, whether you know it or not, the energy is felt way before, there's words said, or there's things that occur in our outer world. That energy is felt. If somebody can walk into a room and they have this power about them, and because they have this power, before they even open their mouth, they already can command a room with their energy. You are no different. So you, me, all of us, one of the first things that we need to start to do, if we don't like the way that this world is polluted, then it's looking internally at ourselves and how we choose to not live life consciously, how we choose to let this external world be the driver for how it is that we live, rather than all of us claim our power back and live from that space where we are our best. And because we are all taking responsibility for our best, then inherently, right, the outer world would be better. It's easy to point fingers when you have a level of judgment about the degree upon which things are happening. And I'm saying this from an objective place, right? Because we all have our different morals and ethics. And for some people, the level of ethics is going to be different. There's different degrees, right? So I'm not comparing one tragedy versus another tragedy. But what I am saying is that it's easy for all of us to point fingers at multiple different things when we're not standing for anything, especially ourselves, and we're not living in our power. So he says, either stop doing what you're doing, speak to the person. So we're saying, if this happens to be you in a relationship or in a circumstance or having to interact with somebody, and it's not the most optimal situation or relationship for you to be in, he's saying either you stop doing what you are doing, speak to the person concerned, and express fully what you feel, or you drop the negativity that your mind has created around the situation, and that serves no purpose whatsoever except to strengthen a false sense of self. Because we identify with the fact that if we are in a relationship and we are not brave enough to address the situation and either drop it and forgive it or leave the relationship, we would rather sit there and continue to make something right, or continue to make an excuse for why we feel the way that we feel, the pain that we feel, but yet we're allowing that pain and that circumstance to be in our life. And in fact, if you make a decision to be in a circumstance when you know it doesn't feel right and it causes you not to think right, then you are perpetuating unnecessary pain, because at that point it is what it is. And if it is what it is, then either you try to fix it or you accept it. You take action and you accept it. So fix it can be you leave, fix it can be you address it like you just said. But most of the time you have two choices when you don't like something about what's going on in your life. You either take action on it and it'll start to eventually get better, or you accept it if you're not going to take action on it. And either way, we talked about this, I think it was last week, when you start to come from that space, then do you really have a problem? If you're starting to act on a problem, then you really don't have the level of problem that we create in our mind, because you're actively solving the thing that is causing you the pain or the suffering. However, if you choose to not do anything about it, then you inherently have to say that you're willing to accept it and you need to let it go. That's the choice that you made to be in maybe a crappy relationship or a crappy circumstance and not do anything about it. And what he's saying is that some of this suffering that we're creating, if it hasn't happened in the past, if you see it right in front of you and you're not going to do anything about it, what is the point of you continuing to be in pain and be in misery from something that you have chosen to not act on, and you know that it's not going to change? What is the point of being in that pain? And that's something that, for each of us, we'll have to ask ourselves. But now I hope that that gives you a little bit of enlightenment as to, if we step out of this false being, this false sense of identification with our mind and our feelings that we get so entrenched in, we can see that at the end of the day, if you know you have two options and you pick one or the other, then the suffering diminishes significantly. The pain diminishes significantly. And if it doesn't, then you are identifying yourself with something that's false, because it either it is, or you fix it or you act on it, right? And you act on it doesn't mean you act on it and you, by trying to get somebody to do what you want them to do, or trying to convince somebody to think what you want, or you wait for your job to give you the promotion, or a lot of times we spend a lot of our time giving our power away to other people, other things, other circumstances. And I don't think that that's what he means. I think that when we need to act, if we don't feel right, or if our thoughts are not right when we are in certain circumstances, then the onus is on us to either act to fix it, to rectify it, to come up with a solution. Or if we don't have the bravery and the guts to do that, then we have to just accept what it is at that moment in time. And you'll get another moment, right? Because the now is the now is the now. And it's the only moment that's real. And you can change your mind in the future. But in that moment that you're there, then the suffering needs to diminish, because at that point it's created from the ego and not your true sense of being, your true being. All right. So he also says, stop what you're doing, speak to the person, express what you feel, or drop the negativity that your mind has created. Recognizing its futility is important. Negativity is never the optimum way of dealing with any situation. In fact, in most cases, it causes you to stay stuck in negativity, blocking any real change. Anything that is done with negative energy will become contaminated by it, and in time will give rise to more pain and more unhappiness. So since he's talking specifically about energy between two people, maybe for a lot of us, we can think about this in the way that we interact in our relationships. And if we've talked to the person that we're with and we've expressed or tried to solve a problem or take action, and that person has chosen to continuously not align with what it is that we want in our relationships, and we choose to not leave, then again, by staying, you are accepting what is. And if you choose to accept what is, then you can no longer create negativity around a situation that you have conceded to. And if you continue to try to build a relationship holding on to the negativity of the fact that you're not going to accept what's right in front of your eyes, then and still expect for it to change or be different or build into something that's positive, then you're in fact tainting that situation with the energy of the negativity that you're continuing to perpetuate, which continues to leave things stuck. And it'll continue to bring cycles of resentment, unhappiness, more pain, and it becomes contagious. Because remember, when you start to identify with this pain body, it actually starts to take over you. And what it likes to do is find more negativity and drama and pain to continue to keep it alive. And so when you start to have these type of situations in your relationships and your circumstances, this unhappiness spreads more easily than a physical disease. Through the law of resonance, it triggers and feeds latent negativity in others unless they are immune. That is highly conscious. So check this out. What he's saying here is that, okay, So your energetic being, your thoughts are putting out a frequency of negativity. And you're trying to create these relationships where instead of accepting or solving or moving on, whatever it is, I'm going to say accepting or acting, you continue to be stuck in this negativity. This negativity loves negativity. And so eventually it just continues to perpetuate more pain in the relationships that you're in. What you don't understand is that because these frequencies vibe on the same level, you can go to the grocery store and trigger somebody's negativity, and it be a mirror for your negativity, even though you don't know that this is happening. You can have what you may think are unlucky things happening to you because there's this underlying negativity, resentment, whatever, happening in your life, in your aura, in your energy, that triggers this dormant energy in other situations and people around you. This is why I believe sometimes you can have people that not only through scientifically your reticular activating system filtering in whatever it is that you believe, helping cloud your reality, but you also can trigger certain instances so that the world that you live in vibrates with the frequency that you emit. So like me and you can go in the same store, and you may have a totally negative experience due to the underlying negative energy that is surrounding your life. Whereas I would maybe have a different experience if I energetically did not align with some of the things that you align with. Are you polluting the world or are you cleaning up the mess? I love this question, especially in today's day and age where the people believe that if you bring awareness to something, you're doing your part. In a day and age when information is everywhere, and 9 times out of 10, the people that are following you are similarly aligned to you, you may be given a few people that didn't know what was happening a little bit of information, but are you truly cleaning up the mess, which is an activity, or are you polluting it? That's something we should be asking ourselves if we want to truly, again, like you said, think about how we can clear up some of the pollution that we have experienced in our outer world, both as a collective together, but also just in your own personal experiences. You are responsible for your inner space. Nobody else is, just as you are responsible for the planet. As within, so without. If humans clear inner pollution, then they will also cease to create outer pollution. And then I'm going to go with one more little thought for today. And so, if any of you have any questions about this, go ahead and start to drop them in the comment box. How can we drop negativity? Is the question. And so Eckhart says, by dropping it, how do you drop? He says, by dropping it, basically. So the person is saying, how do you drop negativity? And Eckhart is saying that it's a decision, right? If you want to drop something, you can drop it. How do you drop a piece of hot coal that you're holding in your hand? How do you drop something heavy and useless baggage that you carry around? By recognizing that you don't want to suffer the pain or carry the burden anymore, you just let go of it. A lot of us have carried around this pain and this hurt and this trauma that continues to taint us being able to live fully in our power in the only moment that is real now. However, when it's time to actually let go and stop the suffering, stop the pain, we don't want to do it. And we already talked about this a couple weeks ago. The reason why we don't is because if we have to drop the pain or if we have to drop the suffering, guess what? Then we feel like we lost a part of our identity by not holding on to that stuff. E.C. Robertson, great explainer. Thank you. Let's see what else he says. So you have to make the decision that you don't want to suffer. That's how you start to drop negativity. Deep unconsciousness, such as the pain body or other deep pain, such as the loss of a loved one, usually needs to be transmuted through acceptance combined with the light of your presence, your sustained attention. And this is where I think that we also miss a little bit of what can help us to move past the pain. In order to transmute pain, trauma, a lot of things that may have happened to us in the past that are no doubt impactful to the person that we are now, but in fact are holding us back from living in our power. Number one, we have to make the decision to drop it, right? Because it is what it is. It happened. And again, it's not spiritual bypassing, but it is saying that that is not your moment now. And what is the growth and what is the direction that you want to take as you move into the future? That is what you should be focusing on. Um, but then he's also saying that for a lot of us, we have to learn that we can transmute negative energy in our lives to help facilitate a more positive experience. The easiest way I can say that is for a lot of us, we can let our pain continue to be our pain, and each moment that passes and the memory of the past can haunt what we're living in the now. And as the memories in the past continue to haunt us, then we are no longer fully present in our power. Or we can make the decision that, yes, this was what happened in the past, but now from this moment forward, how am I going to decide to live my life based on the things that happen to me? And I feel like that's what you're doing when you transmute dark stuff. Is, are you taking this and using it as an opportunity to move forward, to grow, to not let any other moment of your life that you have a decision over be tainted by the things that happen to you in a negative light? Or do you take all the pain that you've been through and do you transmute it and say, you know what, maybe something was polluted in the past, maybe something was painful in the past, but from this moment forward, I can make that mean that I've been through a lot, that I'm a survivor, that I'm a strong person, and moving forward, it's all about growth and expansion and becoming my best self. And unfortunately, what I see is that a lot of people choose to continue to make the past and the pain their identity and their story. And because of that, they don't move forward. They don't transmute. And even if you start to try to change certain behaviors, you don't make sustained and lasting change because every step that you take forward, you're bringing the pain forward. You're bringing the pain forward. It's a metaphor to me. I like to think of it as, you know how you watch those crime shows and they have these little files, these police files of all these cold cases, and they just put them on shelves. I would almost want you to think about the pain that happened to you like that. We all have these memories, and it doesn't mean that we discard them, and it doesn't mean that they're not real and that they didn't happen to us. And in the moment that they happened to us, that was real and that was now, but now they're memories. So to me, how can you put these memories on a shelf and you're not denying that they didn't happen to you? But now, so what? I know that's harsh, but so what? What now? Gemstone said, this is what I needed to hear. Yes, it's very powerful and it's very hard. And usually that's why a lot of people that have that find themselves stuck and have tried to change on their own do have to work with a coach, because a lot of us are not aware that we are unconsciously making a decision to identify with pain, to hold on to pain, and to live our life via memories instead of live our life in what's real. And again, as this book continues to hone and push into our head, the only real thing is now. All right. Many patterns in ordinary unconsciousness, on the other hand, can simply be dropped once you know that you don't want them and you don't need them anymore. Once you realize that you have a choice and you are not a bundle of conditioned reflexes. Because a lot of what we do when we are responding emotionally is a reflex. You're not even consciously thinking about what is triggering you. You just, something triggers you, you have an emotion, and then you just go off on a tangent. Or again, we let our mental activity control us instead of even saying that, what is it that we're thinking and how can we turn that off so that it's not a reflex that just runs on its own and we just become a slave to whatever it is that our mind is making us think and then feel, right? You have a choice, and it can be dropped once you truly decide, not you say it because it's cute, not you say it because it's the right thing to say, but when you truly decide that you want to drop it, and when you fully decide that you want to drop it, it does not have to be a part of your life anymore. All this implies is that you have access to the now. Without it, you have no choice. And let's see, Gemstone said, is this what is referred to as alchemy? Yes, this is referred to as alchemy, or even shadow work. All these cute little metaphors that people are using are pretty much working with the same thing. The inner child work that people will do. It's not that there's really a child in there that's living her best life for the rest of your life. Once you go in and you figure out what the trauma of your childhood was, and you see how you subconsciously play out some of those triggers from your childhood, then it's no longer inner child work at that point, because you know what it is. It's out in the open. Now it's just working on behaviors and thoughts and feelings and attitudes, right? Same with shadow work. Once you uncover the things that are holding you back, it's not shadow work for that particular circumstance. So now it's just about transmuting. Yeah, alchemy is transmutation. Alchemy is, I'm just going to say, chemistry. It's working with chemistry, working with lesser materials, combining them with other materials to try to get the most magnificent material. So it's using all of these different things to try to create something that's powerful, whether that be when people were trying to change things into gold, whether that be a metaphor for you trying to get rid of the parts about yourself that you don't like and strengthen the parts of yourself that you do like to become better. It's transforming the pain into pleasure, blah, 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 blah. It's all the same thing: transmutation, alchemy, shadow work, whatever. But a lot of times people are trying to do the work without actually making the decision that they truly want to let go of how they identify. And so that's a lot of the times what leaves us stuck from moving forward. All right. I love the question, Gemstone. Anybody else have any questions? Don't forget, we have a Protect Your Energy masterclass coming up this week. If you're in the Personal Mastery membership, we have our formal Q&A, our Zoom Q&A over learning how to regulate our feelings so that we can manifest very strongly in our lives. Otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow at the same time, same place. Oh, let's see, Gemstone. Mine are uncovered. Now I'm in a stagnant cycle of trigger and replaying. Need to alchemize. Yeah, and you already know that, and I'm proud of you for even, identifying and making decisions that are going to start to move you forward. But part of the way that you feel with the triggers and the replaying is specifically what he's saying is that you have to make a decision that your future identity does not have to be connected with the past identity. And I'm not saying that you forget about everything that happened to you, but what I'm saying is that if you are if you are a decisive individual, and once you make a decision to move forward, then you don't step back, then those triggers and that replaying will fade away. And so a question that I would have you to ask yourself is, have you truly made the decision that the past does not have to impact who you are right now? And if you haven't made that decision, and if you still think about the past and you are wondering why, woulda, shoulda, coulda, and it's triggering you like that, then there may be some more work that needs to happen around making the decision to truly put that on a shelf. It happened. It's a memory. It's significant, but it is a memory. And so from the moment that is real, how can you not carry that into this? And it is a decision, but a lot of people have trouble because they identify with the stuff, with the baggage, instead of making it a memory. And that's the difficult part. And that's what you can get help with. You already know that. So, you need to journal on this thing. Yeah, you may need to journal on it. Or for me, it was, when I was going through my own spiritual awakening, and you guys already know my story about how I had to like start all over from scratch, and I didn't really feel comfortable. I didn't know who I was. And what I did, I am so glad that I had the wherewithal to do, is say that if I have to start my life from the ground up, and if I'm going to get this opportunity, because you know, you lose everything, but then you have this opportunity to move forward, then how can I make each real moment, the moments that are now, better than what they were in the past? And so that was my decision. My moments moving forward, every breath that I take is going to be better than the ones that I took previously. And so that was what was able to help me create a shift, because I didn't want to be somebody that identified with pain or that identified with the painful things that happened to me. Yes, they happened to me. Yes, at the time, in that moment that I experienced them, they were painful. But if I was going to move forward with growth, I didn't have to carry the pain into the future, but I could carry the lessons into the future about how could I make my future better. ECJ Robertson, for when the autoimmune disorders where the body's nerves are hijacked, so mentally I'm well, but the body isn't sending out the signal. So aligning with triggers focused on somatic therapy. Huh. I think I kind of understand what you're saying. I don't know if you know that I'm a nurse, because I haven't really seen your name in many of the lives. I'm just going to say I have a very interesting view on autoimmune disorders, and I would say that mentally, when you say that you're well, was there a history of not living in the now and living in the present and living in your power? Because I just personally, me, as in my own nursing practice, I believe that autoimmune disorders are linked to, again, triggers that could have something to do with not living in that power. I don't often see somebody that is, I'm not saying you're unwell, but mentally, because sometimes we function in a level of what we think is normal, that unconsciously or subconsciously, I find that there are things going on underneath the surface that align with autoimmune disorders. But that's just my thing. It doesn't have to be your thing. This is all good stuff to journal on. I don't have to ID that way at all. No. So it's a choice. So basically he's saying you accept it, right? And if you accept it, then you either fix it or you don't. Let's see. Oh, we have somebody on YouTube. I wasn't speaking my truth, and I was. I don't know what that means. Oh, let's see it. Oh, so we have someone on YouTube, Bebe or BB, that says she wasn't speaking her truth and she was diagnosed with thyroid disease. Again, I'm not a healthcare professional that always thinks that, you know, we don't have physical stuff, because we do. But I think, especially with the autoimmune disorder type of world, and sometimes you have the thyroid thing too, I do think there are other things going on, and I actually commend you with somatic therapy, because I think that may help to bring that connection back in alignment as well. Hey, body beautiful woman. All right, I'm so happy for all the discussion and the comments. You guys are awesome. All right, so if you enjoyed this discussion, I do this Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, we're still going through this book. If you find that, like we talked about, throat chakra work. Oh, the throat chakra with the thyroid, baby, or BB. If you are having trouble, like we talked about earlier, with aligning your thoughts and your feelings so that you don't have to suffer needlessly. And if you find that when you try to do this work, you are blocked because subconsciously you can't identify what is triggering it and you want help with that, then I have a couple more slots for private coaching. And so if you want me to help you out with that, you can apply for coaching, and we can just get on a free call to see if it's a good fit for you. You can find that information at the top of my website, yashikasintuition.com. If you happen to be on Instagram, you could just go to the link in my bio and it'll take you right to the information and the application form. All right, for real. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. All right, bye.